Hey, I want to welcome you to Beyond the Message. This week we're looking at Mark chapter 14, and I'm Bob.
And I'm Courtney.
So, Courtney, last week we joked about how in chapter 13 it was just about end times.
Yeah.
This week there are like 10 subsections to look at in this chapter. There is so much here. I really had a hard time picking one or two things that stood out. And so because of that, I'm going to let you go first and share with me kind of what stood out to you and what really spoke to you this week.
Yeah, you're not wrong. And chapter 14 just had me actually reading it over and over and over again. There was just so many things that stood out to me, which I love. Right out of the gate. I love that when it's right out of the gate like that. It was the woman that she came into a room and she got the most expensive perfume and she poured that over Jesus's head, knowing, like, she knew who he was. She had confidence in who he was, and she was willing to walk in a room, which I can only assume in those times wasn't the easiest, knowing that she would be ridiculed or things would be said about her. Would I do that? I actually had that question, like, wow, would you be that person? And just to him to even go on how he talks about her and how he says that she will be talked about, like, throughout history.
And we're still talking about her.
We're still talking about her.
We're still talking
about
her.
And so it just goes to show you, just having that confidence in who God is and being able to walk in a room fully confident in him. And that's really what that was about for me. I'm sure, you might have something different, but for me, that was really important.
I think what's really cool about that story with her is that as she broke open this perfume, we know from that the disciples, this could have been, the money could have been given to the poor.
It was so expensive,
They were literally offended by her worship.
Right, yeah.
Think about in that little room, the fragrant aroma of that perfume would have filled the room.
Yeah.
And they were offended at her worship.
Yeah.
And if I remember right, that would have cost her a year's wages.
Yes.
I can't imagine. It sounds bad coming from a staff member. I can't imagine giving a year's wages.
No, that's hard. That's hard to think about.
It's hard to do. But she gave a year's wages, and they couldn't see past what she did to see what she was doing. She was honoring Jesus with her very best.
Yes.
And it was definitely, for me, it's a picture. The aroma in the room was the praise of her heart.
Yes. Yeah. She knew who he was.
Yes.
Yeah. And then, it obviously it goes on and it talks about the Lord's Supper and all of that. But we get to Judas, where Judas is going to betray Jesus, and he's already in the works of betraying Jesus. And so we know that that's taken place. And then, they're in the Lord's Supper, and Jesus says, one of you here will betray me.
Right.
And there's this moment where the disciples actually are like, wait, who, me? Like, I'm going to betray you, And I kind of had like this real visual for that moment. Like, these disciples, they are actually sitting next to Jesus. They can see him, and they know him, and yet they still, like, even in their faith, like, they still are like, wait, like, I'm gonna be that person. They're still questioning like who they are and if they could possibly do that, or like, no, I couldn't do that, and questioning whether Jesus would even know that they would be that person or not. It was just crazy to me. I just think that's so important, because there's just so many moments in life where things will come our way, and wait, who, me? I'm going to be, God, like, I see you, I hear you.
Come on, God, you know better than that.
Yes, no, but I just, I love how real this is. This moment, just the whole Lord's Supper is just so valuable and so incredible to me. And then, I also had somebody ask me, would you have compassion, or would you feel sorry, or do you feel sorry for Judas? And, I think maybe a while back, I don't know that I would have answered yes to that, because you think, I mean, he betrayed him. Like,
Mhm.
why, but
He got what he deserved.
but yes, he got what he did. Yeah. But the more that you learn how God loves us and how we're to love everyone, that you learn, yes, no, I do feel sorry for him. Like
Yeah.
I do have compassion for that. And to know that, Judas had to betray Jesus in order for, a will for this to for everything to obviously happen. I can't get my words out. I apologize. But no, I feel like that Jesus was or that Judas, I mean, even though this happened, he ultimately, we have consequences to our choices, and in the end he did get what he deserved. And but that doesn't mean that you can't have compassion for somebody
Yeah.
or
When I think about Judas, I really think about, I've met a lot of people who
Yeah.
are like Judas.
Yeah.
Judas had an unreal expectation of the Messiah.
Yeah.
And in Matthew, when Jesus called the disciples, he said he called them and gave them power to drive out demons, to heal the sick, and raise the dead. And Judas, and it lists them, and it says, and Judas, the one who betrayed Jesus, he had these abilities and so much more
Right.
that he was able to do. And so he knew he wasn't doing those in his own power that
Right.
Jesus had given them, but because he was so fixated on Jesus being going to sit on the throne of David
Right.
and restore Israel and all the land,
Yeah.
that even watching Jesus, he couldn't get there. And I've met so many people who they misunderstand the Bible the
Yeah.
same way as Judas. And no, they're not betraying Jesus in a way that he's going to get crucified. They can't do
Right.
that, but they're teaching bad things that's just not
Yes.
true, or they
Yeah.
believe things that, no, God's not like that. He's not that
Right.
mean of a God.
Yeah.
He is a loving God.
Yeah.
And so it makes me feel sorry for Judas
Yeah.
that he sat in front of Jesus and missed it.
He missed it.
And so,
Yeah.
and now we're living 2,000
Yeah.
years, but fortunately away from Jesus in person. But because we're believers, we have the Spirit in our heart, and we can hear and see and know him in a way that Judas really didn't experience that same thing. And so I think for me, talking about Judas's betrayal, it kind of led me to, in verses 27 through 31, where it talks about Peter's denial. You know, Jesus said, hey, listen, Peter, you're going to deny me. And Peter says, no, Lord, I will die for you. I will give my life. There is no way. I love you more than these. There's no way I'm going to deny you. And we know that story. But for me, this came up in my men's group 2 weeks ago. We were talking, and one of the guys said something, and he quoted from the parallel passage of this in Luke 22, verses 31 through 38. And in verse 31, it says, and the Lord said, Simon, Simon, indeed Satan has asked for you, that he may sift you as wheat. But I have prayed for you that your faith should not fail. And when you have returned to me, strengthen your brethren. Peter hasn't even denied him yet. And Jesus is saying, I'm praying that you'll return to me. In other words, he's saying, I've already forgiven you.
Yeah.
And when you come back, you made this mistake, but use it to comfort your brethren. You know, one of my favorite verses in Corinthians is, comfort those with the comfort with which you've been comforted.
Yeah.
You think of the difficult things you've been through in your life and that I've been through mine. I can't comfort people the way you can, but you can't the way I can either.
Yes.
It's being able to do that. And Jesus said, listen, Peter, you're going to deny me. Judas denied me in a different way, but you're going to deny me. In fact, all the disciples were scattered. They all abandoned him.
Yeah.
They all deserted him in one way or another. Judas just so happened to be the one that took his life.
Yes.
Or set it up for Jesus to lay down his life. Let's
Correct.
get theologically
That's
correct.
Right. Yes.
But it is that Jesus, listen, when you have returned, when you've forgiven yourself and you've realized, you know what, Jesus loves me and has forgiven me. So it really doesn't matter how bad of a mistake we make. Jesus is praying for you today, saying, when you return, Satan wants to sift you. He wants to shake your faith. He wants to beat you down. He wants to drive you out of the church. But when you realize that that's not me, that's Satan, I want you to come back to me, and I got a great plan for you.
Yes.
I'm going to love you and lead you, and I'm going to let you use what you think is the worst mistake of your life, the biggest failure of your life, to strengthen and encourage your brethren.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, we were sitting in Chick-fil-A, and the guy was sharing this, and I was sitting there going, I've been in this group 9 years, and that's probably the best thing I've ever heard.
Yeah, no, it's really great.
I mean, for me, it was just like, so Jesus knows how I'm going to drop the ball today.
Yeah, right.
He knows the big mistake I'm going to make, the sin I'm going to make. And he's just, hey, Bob, I'm already praying for you. Yeah. I've already forgiven you.
Yeah.
Just Give yourself a break.
Yeah. It makes you like kind of think back in your life. I remember there was a time in my life where, didn't drink, didn't do anything. Like I just wanted to serve the Lord, like it was just like so straight cut. Like I couldn't imagine, like how is God going to use me? Like,
Mhm.
what story do I have to like share with anyone? And it's just crazy because then you're like, okay. And now you're like, you have this story that you get to use to help other people. And no, I love that.
Yep.
That there's no, yeah.
Yep. Christ can redeem
Yes.
any story. No one is
Mhm.
too far gone.
Yeah.
And I love that. So,
Yes.
hey, this is maybe you start out your group with the question, do you feel sorry for Judas, or what are your thoughts about Judas? Maybe that's it. Forget what the other 4 questions are that are listed below. Maybe you start and just discuss, and maybe you even share how you've been Judas. How have you
Yeah.
betrayed Jesus, or how have you been Peter and you've denied him, or the other
Mhm.
apostles and you've run away? There's nothing better than sharing your story with other people and saying, this is what I did, and this is how God restored me. And so take time and share that in your group tonight. And then I encourage you, as we have every other week, take time to read chapter 15 to get ready for Pastor's sermon next week. God bless you, and I pray that you really enjoy your group tonight.
Yes.